Hey guys and gals, welcome to Behind the Blog Show with Bill at Patton, and I'm Sterling Strother. We're going to be your fabulous host today. We're going to talk to Bill. Last week, Bill, in the blog, we talked about how to create general plans of practice for players in the intermediate and advanced levels. But today we're going to talk to you about developing a main course for players just starting out. And you alluded to this analogy of it's kind of like it's similar to feeding small children. Can you elaborate on that visual?
Yeah, I mean, anybody who's a parent, understands that that when you're feeding your kids for the first time, it's like a little bit of a scary thing. You got to get it figured out, and you're wondering if it's going to stay down and all that. But they start with milk pretty much, and then they got to chew something, and whether the meal's going to stay down or not is the big problem. So the same thing's kind of true when we have players who are brand new to tennis, and we give them a challenge. Is it too challenging? I mean, we can't give the same challenge to our top players that we give to our lower level mid-level players as we give to our brand new beginning players. It's just going to be overwhelming, and they're not. It's not going to sit well. They're not going to have a sense of accomplishment from it. And I think that's the number one thing, is that they have to feel like they're gaining competence and confidence from that in order for it to be valuable.
Yes, absolutely. Because many teams, high school teams, I mean, I had the same type of team. You have your advanced level players, your top few. Then you have the next line, 4 to 6, maybe into 7 and 8 players, and then on down the line, however many players you have on your team. So you do have different levels, maybe sometimes 3, 4, 5 different levels. Talk about how you take a player just starting out and take them through a practice. Let's start with serving, and then we'll go to returning. And how do you actually help them practice better their serve and return?
Right. And, I want to give a little more context too, because I mean, I've had teams that had a mix of all those things, and I've had teams where I cut people who would be varsity level players on many other teams throughout our area. And right now I have maybe the lowest ranked team in the United States, because I have 13 girls up a racket for the first time. I mean, we serve like this, right? And we return. I can't show you how we return serve, but it's an adventure. Yeah, every return of serve is a brand new adventure. But so yeah, I mean, it's really important to give them something that they can do. And with the serve, basically what we're doing is having them serve straight down the middle of the court. And with any new player that I get at any level, I'm preparing them to play tennis. So I want them to be able to make a serve down the center, and then all the other stuff is going to happen accidentally. So the first thing I do, though, is I ask them, why is the target here? And I place the target, exactly in the middle of the service box, but then 3 feet in from the service line. And I ask them, why is it there and not here? And this is a good time to create some curiosity or praise a kid who understands things, who can analyze the situation properly. So when kids understand that if you're aiming down the middle, you can miss 5 feet left or right and it's still in, that's important. But then a little more subtle is, why is it in the back of the box and not in the center of the box? And part of the reason is there will be less serves that are netted. And the other reason is because then you're going to get deeper serves, which you mean you're not going to be victimized as much. So that's a good first step. And then later what I do is I get into, all right, now you're aiming down the middle, but now if your serve goes here, then you're going to go there. And here's a contingency. And if your serve happens to go there, then you or your doubles partner will move here. And so they start to understand contingencies after that.
Okay, awesome. Now talk about the return, the other side of the serve.
Right.
How do you start that out?
Well, and it's a good thing we had a rehearsal on this. So, yeah. And I mean, with the return, I mean, we basically just get into hit the ball back to the server, and that's your target. So return it back to them, because when you eliminate any direction change, then it makes the timing of the shot better. So it's much easier to time a ball that you're sending back the direction that it came. If you are returning the ball back to the server, then you also get, you can also, keep them from moving, and we'll get into, more about that in the next thing that we talk about.
Right.
But yeah, just to simplify it the best possible way, because the first thing we want to do is make sure that they can serve some balls in play and return some balls in play, because if you can't do those things, you can't play tennis.
I was going to say, wait, Bill, you haven't talked at all about hitting forehands and backhands and perfecting the forehand and backhand stroke. Like, what is?
I'm gonna take some video of my players today and post it, and I think some people are gonna be disappointed in me as a coach.
Well, why? But go through why you really. I mean, you alluded to it earlier. When you said the word play,
right?
Why do you want to teach them the serve?
We're playing tennis, and we don't have time to perfect a forehand, and we don't have time to perfect a backhand. And it's also interesting too, because I was reflecting on how far we've come since August 28th. A lot of my girls started 2 full weeks after the first allowable day of practice. So we're so ridiculously behind. It's insane. So I was reflecting on, well, how far have we come? And the kids are having fun. I mean, they're making serves in and they're making returns in, and they get to play tennis, and they're getting beat bad every match. But they get to play points, so they're happy. But I've now come up with the idea that the rest of our season, we're in the preparation phase, and then we're going to go into a very short pre-competitive phase, and then the very last match of the season against our crosstown rival and the league championships, that's our competitive phase. That's going to be at the very end. So I'm going to start a thing where on this practice we do forehands, the next practice we do backhands, the next practice we do serves, the next practice we do volleys, the next one we do lobs and overheads, and on through, just cycling through that in a preparation phase. And I think this is the reality for a lot of coaches, that they're kind of stuck in this perpetual preparation phase. So it won't be like this next year, because the kids will have the strokes, and we'll only have a few new players that we need to introduce. So it's definitely an exception to what I like to do.
Right. Have you found that, though, that the girls taking the racket up for the first time and then jumping in and starting to play matches, but haven't you found them enjoying the process more by actually learning how to play the game first, instead of stand there and monotonously hit 100 forehands in a row from one spot in the court?
Yeah, well, sometimes we try to hit 100 forehands. Well, we don't try to hit 100 forehands in a row. I mean, we do some ball machine stuff where they go through a line and they hit.
Right. But I mean,
but no, I get what you're saying. No, they like the fact. I think they pretty much universally enjoy the fact that they have some skills given to them about having intentionality on the court, of they're trying to achieve an objective on the court, rather than trying to hit the perfect forehand cross court.
Okay. All right. So let's go into having intentions and responding to accidents. What do you mean by that?
Okay. So this is where we give the shout out to the 7 on-court strategies to enter your play state by Sterling Strother. Right? So no, and this is outstanding, because because what happened was I decided to use those strategies with new players because I wanted to try it out at that level first before going on and really trying it out with some of my better players, right?
In case it didn't work.
Pardon me?
In case it didn't work, and then you could.
In case it didn't work. If this bombs, then I'm not gonna introduce it to my better players. But so last year we used that with great success, and what we found was that a lot of times, you know, kids were able to cage, run, or reverse their opponents accidentally. So you know, we introduced the intentionality of, hey, here's what I want you to try to do. I want you to try to cage them because the more you cage them, then the more you can mitigate the advantage that they have of having better technique than you. So cage, and then you're going to get an opportunity to run them at some point.
How did you explain cage to them?
Yeah, well, basically, our working definition is anytime you hit the ball at them well enough that they're either not moving or they have to move out of the way of the ball. And we get into the better cage balls are the ones that cause the other player to have to get out of the way. Because then you really reduce the amount of power that they have at their disposal. You reduce the angles that they have to hit past you, all that good stuff. So one example is this gal Jenny. I did a Facebook Live with Jenny the other day, and she's an intermediate player who plays for another high school, and she's trying to break the top 6 singles players at her team. And she will never be the fastest player on the court. It's not going to happen. But what she can do, though, she can use the cage, run, cage against players very effectively because she's a powerful player, even standing still. So that's a huge advantage for her. So we were working on, okay, here's your intentionality. You intend to cage me with your first shot. But oops, if you accidentally run me with the first one instead of cage me, then cage me with the second one. So there's some intentionality, and then there's responding to the happy accident that happens. You know, let's talk about Cessia. You know, so I have this girl Cessia who's you know, real sweetie, and so, but she loves this because she likes the fact that it makes her feel like she's in control, even when she hits like a miserable miss hit that turns into a drop shot. You know, very short in the forehand corner. But I can see the gears turning, and, you know, she's got this player up here, and so then she's thinking, okay, I just ran her, so now I'm going to run her over there. And it's kind of fun to see a player who, you know, gets private lessons every week, feeling helpless because they just got drop shot lobbed, and they're not going to be getting that ball. You know, you know, they do this. Oh, I can't believe I got beat by this girl, you know. So we're not giving up any golden sets. There aren't going to be any sets where the other player wins every single point, because our players are going to capitalize on their mistakes.
Right.
Their mistakes, so.
What I hear you saying is that the players are beginning to intentionally or accidentally play patterns that tell a story of what's actually happening, what they're doing to the player. They're recognizing what's actually going on.
Right.
And able to try to respond to that either, well, with intention if they can.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. So let's go on and talk about.
Oh, wait a minute. Let's back up for a second, because I think this is the other thing too. Is that what could get lost here is that even intermediate and very good advanced players need to be ready with contingencies, because their plan almost always is going to be changed. I mean, the better player you play against, you might have an offensive strategy that you're using, but then they hit back a better shot than was part of your plan. So now you need to shift to a different contingency and reset that point and go over there, right? And now it's over there. And so what's your next two-shot combo that you're playing. So it's this constant stream of consciousness, contingency planning.
Right.
You know, if I do this and she does that, I do this. If I do that and she does that, I do this. You know, I mean, so having a plan, but then also having a contingency plan for when your initial shot doesn't give the right effect.
Exactly. Being able to communicate that with a player, I think, is so important. Even when they're first learning the game, and then when they've been playing it for a long time, advanced players get into this habit where they just run, and run reverse, and they forget about that caging, shot where it just disrupts the whole timing and rhythm of the cadence of running back and forth. Do you have an example there?
Well, no, you keep talking because I gotta plug in my computer.
Oh, okay, go ahead. I'll keep talking.
You go off on that a little bit. You go big.
Okay, go big. Go big or go home. So yeah, so that's the idea. I think, coaches, when you're working with players, and I've had this happen, where I had a player in a tournament, and it was a high school tournament preseason, and she just kept running this player back and forth, and the girl was running down everything and just ripping cross-court angles. And so on the changeover, I just looked at my player, and I'm like, look, start caging her. Maybe run her and then cage her, or cage her and then run her, like Bill was talking about with his player. And it was phenomenal. Like, the whole rhythm of the match changed. The momentum shifted into my player's advantage, and ended up my player winning the match after losing the first set. So it's these intentional patterns and being able to explain them in a way that it makes sense. And so thanks, Bill, for giving me the props about the book, Play Patterns That Tell a Story. That's one of the chapters, and that's what you were using. And I'm so excited to see that it was a success, because not just for, like, selfishly for me, but it's exciting for me to see other players from other parts of the world and the states here, because I see this all the time, and it's great to hear testimonials from you and your players that it actually works because it's simple and it's easy to remember.
Awesome. Well, thanks for filling up the screen and the air with words there for a moment.
You knew I could do that. No problem.
So is that pretty much that kind of concludes, our content for today, right?
Well, actually, there's one more. Talk about developing targets.
Oh, okay, yeah. So, yeah, I mean, it's this interesting thing of progression and regression. So, we progress into creating initial targets, and then we kind of have to regress into developing better ability to hit those targets. And then as that improves, then we might change the targets slightly. We might create a new combination. And then, then the performance is going to suffer at first. And then we have to come to a higher level of performance to go along with our new goal. Just today on Facebook, there was a conversation about strategy and tactics. And the interesting thing is, I don't think people realize this necessarily, is that if you're playing a certain strategy in a match and now you're down 5-love, well, you probably need to change, right? Maybe even at 4-love if it's that ugly, okay? If you lose a blowout set, you probably ought to change your strategy. Now, that takes some time mentally and physically to make that adjustment. So it might take 2 full games before you're actually starting to execute the new strategy well. So you have to be kind of patient with that. And if you're waiting until you're down a set and a break to change strategy, that's a little late in the game. Yeah. So,
well, that's a great point you make about being patient. I think that players, I was just talking about with a player yesterday. He's so creative that he doesn't really have a foundation. I was talking about when you build creative on top of creative on top of creative, which means you're changing your shot selection every other shot, and you're not sticking with a certain pattern long enough. I said you don't know really what works, and you become impatient, so you try more things. So can you elaborate a little bit more about beginners when you're like, take your girls that you're teaching now? How do you take them through the idea of creating a foundation first? And you've already talked about it with the serve and return, but talk about with patterns.
Okay, well, you're gonna love this and this is gonna help you with that kid, right? So I get a lot of musicians and artist types that I teach tennis to, and so here's what I ask them. I'm like, okay, well, you're an artist. Can you draw a straight line? Can you draw a perfect circle? Because if you're an artist and you can't draw a straight line or a perfect circle, then you're not going to be a very good artist. Okay? Are you a musician? Can you play your scales? If you can't play your scales, you are not going to be a very good musician, right? So, you know, who are the best jazz musicians? Classically trained musicians who can just play any note they want to play at any moment, right? So with these creative kids, you know, I've pretty much now the linchpin of any strategy, no matter what style you are, the linchpins of any strategy are getting your first serve in play, getting your returns in play, and building the point with cross-court play. If you can't hit a deep cross-court shot, you will have a very difficult time imposing any other strategy on anyone. Because if your shots are short, in the middle only, or down the line too early, you will be the victim. You know, so this is one thing. I mean, my team that won a sectional championship here, which in California with 36 million people is akin to a state championship in many other states. You know, it's like every match, gentlemen, ladies, gentlemen, build your point with deep cross-court shots, and then wait for the opportunity to become creative, and then play your game. You know, express yourself after you have hit a deep cross-court shot, or you hit a serve that creates the thing that you were trying to create. You know, when you fail to create the thing that you wanted to create, then you don't get to do the next thing. So.
No, that's great. I agree completely. I had a player once, and he had hit everything cross court. He could never hit it down the line the entire match. And he won like 2-1 without hitting any shot down the line. So yeah, I mean, and it was a lesson he needed to learn. Hey, I can win this match just hitting cross court shots. Right. So yeah,
I don't know how many times I've seen two equal players who are advanced and have tremendous technique on both sides and have every shot in the game, and one of them's hitting down the line too early and the other one wins.
That's right. You just turn on. Okay. All right. Well, everyone, this was our behind the blog.
But we need to give news. We have to give news before you say good night. Okay.
I jumped the gun. Okay, yeah, Bill, give us the news about the upcoming Barnstorm Tour, right?
Okay. It's called the Bones Cares Tennis Barnstorm Tour 2017, and we're gonna have a tour T-shirt that the first design will be coming out next week. I'll be sharing that design, but so the T-shirt is gonna be a pre-order thing, and you can pre-order it for $20. Once it's made, it's going to be $25, and all the proceeds are going to go towards an inner city program in Houston to help out victims of flooding. But we really want to help out the tennis community. So I'm trying to get in touch with Zena Garrison right now. We're going to find a program in Houston to drop off this money with. But so what's going to happen? So the T-shirt is gonna be a rock and roll T-shirt with a rock and roll guitarist playing a tennis racket guitar on the front, and it'll have all the tour dates. and I'm going to, this is going to be in November. I'm going to Los Angeles, Palm Desert, Gilbert, Arizona to be with Mike Loudermilk, Mesa, Arizona to be with Melissa Tafoya, San Antonio, Texas. I need a gig there. If you're in San Antonio area, have me over. I have some contacts. I'm going to be trying to get something going. Then I go to Horseshoe Bay, Texas, which is southwest of Austin, and I'll be speaking at the Texas High School Tennis Coaches Association once or maybe twice. I've asked to coach to talk twice, but we'll see what happens. Then I'm probably going to mess around in Austin for a day. Then I'm heading to, or later anyway. So then I'm going to Houston to be with Erwin Bebe Montalvo. All right, and I'm going to work like a dog down there with Erwin for a day in Houston. Then I need a gig in Dallas, Albuquerque, New Mexico, Flagstaff, Arizona, Las Vegas, Nevada, Bakersfield, California, and then home. And I'm leaving November 28th and coming back, having gone halfway across the country, back to California by December 11th or 12th. But you know, I will, if you have me over to your place, I will work like a dog for you. We can do a special clinic on visual training for tennis. We can have a high school coaches workshop. We could do a two-handed backhand clinic on the stuff that I came up with, two-handed backhand styles. Anything you want, all right? And you know, I'm starting to get more into this integral consciousness stuff, which you'll be hearing more about later. But anyway,
that sounds great.
I'm on tour, and I would love to visit you at your place.
Very cool. A lot of collaboration going on there, man.
Awesome.
So yeah, so this that's great, Bill. I'm pumped for your trip. That's going to be awesome for your tour. For all the high school coaches out there, that's what USA Tennis Coach is all about, bringing you guys together, getting you information, getting you practice plans. That's what we're doing the blog on now. I know you're probably nearing the end of your season, going into post-competitive play with tournaments. If you want if you have any questions, if you're looking to get some advice about maybe how to navigate with your team going into the last part of the season, definitely drop Bill and I an email at usatenniscoach@gmail.com, or you can find us on your favorite social media site. We're all over the place, or at least we try to be, because we want to be accessible to you, and sometimes be selfish and push a book, 7 on-court strategies. But anyway, that was subliminal. But anyway, whatever. So no worries. Anyway, check out the blog. Bill's going to have it put up today, right, Bill? And,
yeah.
Yeah. So check it out. And that's all. Thanks,
all right,
Bill, for the conversation. All right. Talk to you later.